So even wind turbines 20 kilometres offshore are a problem now. I mean, I know that you're expressing community sentiment there, but it just tells me, David, if you've got pushback with things like that, 20 kilometres offshore, you're going to have pushback on nuclear sites, even if it is on these old coal sites, aren't you? Are you prepared for that?
Yes, we are, because you're actually asking for less pushback and less impact on the community, because you take away the 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines because you're plugging it into where existing power stations are. The footprint of a nuclear power plant is a matter of hectares, not hundreds of thousands of hectares in individual regions to actually put wind turbines and solar panels up that are destroying the very thing that they're there to protect, the actual natural environment. But they're also tearing away our food security, not only on land, but offshore. I mean, there are fishermen off Port Stephens, a fisherman who employs over 200 people that fear his fishing grounds lost. He'll lose 200 jobs and our food security goes down. There's an Australian way to do this with this thing called common sense, and that's what the Nationals will continue to prosecute with Peter Dutton. And I think we will have a policy that the Australian people can have confidence in, that will give us reliable, affordable power, but that'll live up to our international commitments that we've made by 2050.
It strikes me, David, if I could put this to you, that both sides, I know there's a bit of product differentiation here, and that's certainly going to be helpful going into the next election, but it strikes me that both sides of politics here are relying on technology advancing quite quickly within the next decade. If batteries came in leaps and bounds and could actually store a lot of this renewable energy, would you change tack if it was cheaper to do it that way and more reliable?
Yeah, well, let me just say the technology is there for nuclear already, and that's what we'll be using is already a technology that exists, particularly in the medium-sized technology. So it is there, it's being used around the world, and that's what we'll base it off. But it's also about making sure that we have an energy mix, because what you're doing by saying we're going down batteries and all renewables is you're having concentration risk. And that opens up Australia to significant vulnerability.
Be a game changer, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, they can't do it.
No, they can't yet. But what I'm saying, if this technology came, advanced well beyond expectations, would you change tack? Because would that be the better option?
No, because it comes back to the point that I made initially, is that it's not about having concentration risk. It's spreading our risk of having coal transitioning into nuclear with gas firming, with carbon capture storage to reduce to zero emissions, and then a mix of renewables. And that's what we're saying is we can have a mix because we have sovereignty of all our resources in this country. Yeah. And that's the sensible way, instead of putting all your energy eggs in one basket. Now, batteries may get to some point, but that mix of what we have in renewables can be supported by the technology in batteries. But in a country like this, why would we put all our energy eggs in one basket and have concentration risk? And particularly 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines that we saw earlier this year, when they come down, they open up our vulnerability to grids going down from storms. So we've got a sensible pathway through this. We've got to be calm and methodical. That's what the coalition will put forward. We will live up to our international commitment, but we will do it in a uniquely Australian way in our setting to make sure that we don't have a detrimental impact on our economy and regional Australia.
On transmission lines, perhaps we can talk about it another time, but removing that storm risk, it would be putting them underground. I don't know how that would work, but if I can finally put this here...
Which puts the cost up significantly.
Yeah, but it would mitigate that risk that you're talking about, right? And that's a long-term investment.
But it's far more expensive. But why make that investment of putting more transmission lines in that's going to cost significantly more when you can put a plant where you can utilise existing transmission lines and put renewable projects where existing transmission lines are, which is where most of the renewable projects at the moment have been done. But now they're expanding past that, which means you need more transmission lines, which means you're destroying more landscape as well, which is losing their social licence. Renewables have lost their social licence because of what they're destroying in this reckless race that Labor's putting us on.